The father of a 14-year-old British girl found dead in her bedroom says it was because she was bullied on a social networking site. Companies have pulled their adverts from Ask FM after Hannah Smith received anonymous messages telling her to go die. Well, for the next hour, we'll hear from teenagers in South Africa, in Saudi Arabia and here in the UK about their experiences of cyberbullying and what changes they would like to see. If you or your children use these sites, you can get in touch across social media on Facebook, Twitter and on Google+.
People are going to want to know. Let's just say something.
Well, thank you for being with us. First of all, we should perhaps explain a little bit more about Ask FM. It is a social networking site. It's where people can ask each other questions. They can be quite innocent questions, or quite importantly, they can be anonymous questions, and that's where many of the problems lie with this site, or certainly that's what the critics are saying. Let me introduce you to some of the guests that are here to join us. We're joined by teenagers from around the world. Douglas Blue is in Johannesburg. He's 16 years old. Madge is in Saudi Arabia. She's 18. And Zara and Lauren are in the UK, both 14 years old. All of you, welcome to World Have Your Say. And I do encourage you to speak to one another about your experiences of these websites. Douglas Blue, first of all, have you used Ask FM yourself?
Thank you. Hello?
Hi, Blue.
Excuse
Can you
me?
hear us? I just wondered, have you used Ask FM yourself?
Yeah, I have listened to Ask FM. Thanks.
And what was your experience of using the site?
Using the site when I joined a few years ago, it was very interesting. Everyone joined it, but then a few months after that, I found out social networking sites can be very vicious and mean with teasing, and lots of people can be mean and hurt your feelings, hurt your feelings badly.
And Blue, you say they were vicious and hurt your feelings. I'm not expecting you to tell me the exact messages that you received, but give us a flavour of the sort of messages that you received.
I got messages, I have problems like bipolar disorder, and I had problems with my parents a few years ago, and they teased me about how fat I was, how ugly I am, and I must leave the site and go somewhere else and just not be in their way.
Madge, you're in Saudi Arabia. Is Ask FM popular in Saudi Arabia?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people use it, and I guess it's quite popular, but the bullying is not as bad as I hear in other parts of the world.
That's interesting. So Blue's told us about the sort of abuse that he received. That's not anything that you've experienced yourself?
Have I experienced it myself?
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, I used Ask FM a little bit, but then I guess I was not popular enough, so I wasn't asked a lot of questions. I just kind of trailed off a bit.
It's interesting. You talk about not being popular enough. We hear from Blue about abuse that he received. Let's bring in Zara and Lauren, who are in the UK. I know you're both 14. Have you used Ask FM?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, we both have.
And what experiences have you had on there?
I think it's quite a fun social networking site. It's an alternative from Twitter and Facebook where people can ask you more personal questions and you answer truthfully or not, to be honest.
I think there's two different sides to it as well. So, like, there is a nice side where people can ask you instant questions and it's just quite entertaining. But then there's obviously quite a vicious side to it, and that's when all the problems start.
And interestingly, on Ask FM, you can't actually know who's necessarily following you, can you? You see that there are numbers of people that are following you, but you don't specifically know who those people are, do you, Lauren?
No, you don't. It's quite scary thinking that people could be following you and you don't know who they are.
I logged on earlier today because I have to be honest, I'm a bit old to use Ask FM. So I logged on and had a look at it. And most of the comments seem to either be about people's appearance, as we heard from Blue, whether it's critical or saying you're beautiful. And then other ones were just full of hate. And quite interestingly, we talked at the beginning of the programme about Hannah Smith, the 14-year-old who was found hanged in her room earlier this week. Her father is saying this is very much down to the abuse, the anonymous abuse she got on Ask FM, and some of the abuse online, even talking about Hannah Smith today, encouraging other people to be mean, to send horrible messages to other people because they wanted them to die. This seems like it's quite frequent.
Yeah, I think people feel more confident when they're sitting behind a computer screen or behind their phone, because the person who they're sending the messages to or questions, they'll never know who they are. But I think we know people that have, when the police have got involved with it, and it does get really serious. I don't think people realise that.
So tell us a little bit more about that. What have the police got involved in your experience?
We have a friend and a girl who we know was giving her like lots of horrible hate, and lots of people were ganging up. But there was one main person, and the police called her to say enough is enough. We'll like. They had to go around and talk to her and all of this. So it is a serious offence. I think cyberbullying is probably one of the worst types of bullying there is.
And do you know if that actually stopped that girl, that warning from the police? Did that stop her carrying out these abusive messages?
No, I don't think it did at all, to be honest.
Madge, throughout that you were nodding your head.
Yeah, I think I agree, and definitely about what you said about most of the bullying being based on physical appearance. I think that is pretty prevalent, but from a Saudi Arabian perspective, since it's a very conservative society, you find that a lot of people choose to, or just simply don't upload their own pictures as profile pictures. And so maybe that's why bullying is not as, on Ask FM specifically and on other websites, is not as prevalent as it is on, I don't know, in other countries maybe, or where they upload their pictures.
Well, let me read this comment to you, which is from Hannah Smith's dad, Dave Smith. He posted this on Facebook after his daughter's death. I've just seen the abuse my daughter got from people on Ask FM, and the fact that these people can be anonymous is wrong. Blue, do you think the problem with these sites is because of the possibility to send anonymous messages?
Is it me?
Yes, to you,
Excuse
Blue.
me, can you repeat the...
Yes, I was just saying
the
quotes that I read there from Hannah Smith's dad, saying the problem with Ask FM is that people can post anonymous messages. Do you think that's a problem?
That is a very big problem, because when it's anonymous, people hide behind their computers, and lots of people, including people who manage that site, don't know where they live, what's their name, so they can get away with a lot. They can get away with a lot what they want to get away with, and they can. That's how they do it.
Madge, you were trying to come in.
Hello?
Go ahead, Madge.
Yeah, I was just saying that it's true that anonymity can be, it can protect the bullies from, I guess, circumstances, but at the same time, it can protect the person being bullied. I mean, I don't think anonymity is necessarily a bad thing. It's just the way people use it that makes it bad or good. I mean, it can be used by idiots to bully others, but it can be used by brave people to voice out their opinions at the same time. So I don't think anonymity is a bad thing.
Sarah and Lauren, do you agree with Madge?
Yeah, I agree with what she was saying, that sometimes you do get people that say, they post on people's walls, like, don't listen to what these people are saying, it's not true. And I think it can be used in a good way, but it's just...
Yeah, I think the anonymous thing isn't such a good idea, because on Facebook, if people give hate, it's not anonymous and you can see and you can report it, but the report button on Ask FM isn't as, like...
efficient.
Yeah, it's not.
It is worth saying at this point that Ask FM do say that there is a report abuse button available. It's been there since 2012 for people to use, a bit like the conversation that's been had this week and last week about Twitter introducing a report abuse button. And it's also worth saying that you can actually decide when you go into your settings on your Ask FM account that you can say you don't want to receive anonymous messages. I wonder, have any of you actually accessed that button and said you don't want to receive anonymous messages? Everybody,
no, I didn't even
have
know
it.
there was one.
I knew that there was one, but I don't have it. But I know that some people do have it. And I think it's good if you want to protect yourself from people who can send you horrible things.
Well, girls, if you want to know where it is, you just go to your privacy, you go to your settings button on the right-hand side and go to privacy. There's a box there which simply says block anonymous messages. So if you're on Ask FM and that's what you want to do, that's the way to go about it. Let me introduce you to another guest who's joining us now. Jade is 17. She's a volunteer police cadet and part of the Anti-Bullying Alliance. Jade, you've got a role to help other people through the Anti-Bullying Alliance. But personally, your point of view on Ask FM, do you sign up to it?
I myself haven't signed up to it. I don't really see the point to it.
Go on, explain a little bit more.
It's just an open platform for that abuse, and there's other social networking sites that do the job better for what I'm looking for, so I've just steered away from it, to be honest.
What do you say as part of your role working for the Anti-Bullying Alliance? What do you say and what are the sort of stories that you hear from other young people?
I'd say we're the people who can spread on the message, and we aim to speak out how things can be dealt with and try and make a difference through schools and through other youth organisations.
In your experience, when people speak to you, is it more damaging to receive a message online, potentially anonymously, than it is from someone at school who you know, whether it's in the classroom or out on the playing field?
I'd say so, yes, because without the identity of that person, you don't know who to talk to, how to deal with the situation. Because I think the first instance when it does come forward to you, you just want to sort it out or speak your opinion. But when you've got someone who's shielding themselves, you do not have a clue who to go to.
Do stay with us, Jade, Madge, Zara and Lauren, and to Douglas Blue. We're going to take a quick break and there'll be lots more to talk about.
No, I talking about it.
Jen, let me say something.
No, I talking about it.
Jen, let me say something.
Welcome back to World Have Your Say. Well, we are discussing with teenagers from around the world social networking sites. Let's introduce you to some more people who are joining us now. Farah is in Cairo and Maria is in Texas. We're still joined by Jade, who is 17. She is here in the UK. Farah, first of all, what's your experience of Ask FM and social networking sites more widely?
I've had the first social network I joined was Facebook, and I've never had problems with it. I haven't really used it much. I'm more of a Twitter person, and when I started using Twitter, I noticed that my friends were putting links to their Ask FM accounts, so I didn't make one because I saw how much how many insults they were getting regularly. It didn't appeal to me.
What about you, Maria, in Texas? Have you joined Ask FM?
Yes, I actually started trying it also because I seen people using it on Twitter a lot, and it got me curious and it seemed really fun, so I decided to use it. And yeah, I actually enjoy using it and I think it's really great. It's just sometimes people could actually take advantage of the fact that you could ask anonymously.
So do you send anonymous messages, Maria?
Go overboard with the questions, and that's what I think is really bad about it. But I mean, it has its good side where you could have fun if you use it safely and nicely, not to hurt others. But if you use it to be saying rude stuff and just taking advantage of the fact that they don't know who you are, I think it's just really upsetting and it could be really dangerous.
And Maria, have you ever sent an anonymous message?
Well, actually, I haven't experienced it myself, not that anybody has asked me anything, but I mean, I've seen other people when they post the questions on Ask, like I seen them get rude questions and ugly commentaries that are just like really, really sad and upsetting to see.
Well, let me read you a comment here. It's from the Ask FM's founders, Mark and Ilja Terabin. They've posted an open letter on their site in response to this story. And here are some of the things that they had to say. Our site has safety features which are in line with, if not better than, other social networking sites. Bullying is an age-old problem that we in no way condone, and while its evolution online is disturbing, it certainly isn't unique to our site. Jade, would you agree with that, that actually you can't blame Ask FM? This is actually about the people who were on the site using it.
I can agree with that, but I think it's one of their sole purposes that they should be able to stop this. Yes, they may have one of the best reporting systems, but is it only reporting systems we need? Maybe we need a filter online that does catch these problems and stop it earlier on rather than escalating to this point.
You talk about a filter, what, something that takes out specific words that says you can't post them?
Well, yeah, like maybe like the content as well. So if it scans through a filter and sees certain content that shouldn't be allowed, it should take it out and warn the user that's putting themselves across that way.
Farah, would you recognise that? Would you think that's a good idea?
I think that whether they do that or not, it won't change the fact that bullying exists outside of social networks, and whether it was in this, whether they were being bullied in the social network, it could still happen outside.
What
so
about?
It shouldn't matter.
Sorry to interrupt you. Zara and Lauren, you're both in the UK. Do you think that Ask FM has a greater responsibility to stop this kind of abuse?
Well, I think it is a social networking site, and signing up to it is putting yourself at risk of it, and you should understand that. But I don't think that it should have any more responsibility than other social networking sites.
No.
So is this the problem not necessarily with social networking sites, or indeed with websites at all? Is this more of a problem about young people and how they deal with each other? Jade?
It has got that input to it, so obviously we should be old enough and reasonable enough to not be able to treat people that way. It's just stupid, really.
Maria, do you think the problem is to do with the way young people converse with each other rather than the social networking sites themselves?
Maybe, I mean, yeah, maybe, yeah, because sometimes, you know, as young kids, we just don't really know when to stop, maybe, and just see the bad side about things. So maybe we just like, maybe some people just don't do it in a bad way. Maybe they're just like trying to like think it's funny or something. Probably they think, oh, it's like, you know, they say these bad things, and they're like probably thinking, oh, you know, it's not gonna do nothing. But actually, some funny things that people are thinking, it's actually really rude to other people. Like, I mean, just as a user, we need to know what to ask and like what not to say, and like know the difference between actually like appropriate questions and inappropriate questions to ask other people.
But really, Farah in Cairo, I don't know about your friends and other people, but surely young people know that if they post something on Ask FM saying this person should kill themselves, you're ugly, you're fat, you're stupid, young people know that that is going to upset people.
They do, but it won't stop them. It's especially the fact that Ask FM is anonymous. It gives them more of a chance to be brave about how they feel about a person. And whether it's mean or not, the fact that it's anonymous just encourages it, I guess. That's why Ask FM has more mean comments than good ones.
Well, let me play you a video now which has come in to us at the BBC. Glenn Canning is the father of Rehtaeh Parsons, a Canadian teenager who was taunted online. She killed herself. He sent us this video.
A lot of her friends didn't know what to do to reach out and support her. It's almost a bystander mentality where people will just watch something happen and not know what to do, so they don't do anything. It hurt my daughter deeply that her friends she'd had her entire life, didn't stand behind her and reach out to try to help her. And I think that's one of the most important messages of all. I do think that watching something happen to somebody is almost as wrong as doing it to them. Kids need to really start speaking up for each other. You need to look at the boy or the girl beside you and understand how you'd feel if that was you in their shoes. And understand how you'd feel being ignored by everybody in your school when you did nothing wrong. And how hurtful that would be to have your entire life just completely destroyed. Cyberbullying is deadly. I've used the term before that it's almost like there's a kid walking around the school with a handgun. It has deadly consequences. It's not funny. It's not something to join in on or mob up on somebody. I do not understand how some people would think that it's okay to do that. I watch my daughter night after night just break down into tears after her life was just destroyed by this. And it continued and continued and continued. We changed her Facebook account, we changed her cell phone, and it was just unrelenting. In my eyes, there was a great crime committed, and right now Canada is acting fast on holding people accountable. So imagine how you'd feel, police knocking on your door, showing your parents something you sent to somebody that you thought was funny, but ended up ending their life, and you're going to be held accountable for that. It's just not something you're going to ever want to have happen.
Very powerful message there from Glenn Canning, father of Rehtaeh Parsons, a Canadian teenager who was taunted online and she went on to kill herself. It's worth saying that 2 men today have been charged with child pornography crimes which have been connected with this case. Jade, listening to that, it's very hard to listen to Glenn talking about his daughter in that way. And I guess, is the whole problem with cyberbullying that it is such public humiliation rather than just being in front of classmates, in front of schoolmates? This is worldwide on the internet.
Yeah, I'd say it does get around a lot quicker, and the amount of publicity you get to it as well. There's been instances where you get over 1,000 views on a video where it's just fighting. It's beyond humiliating when you know all these people are acting as bystanders as well, when you know they could have stepped in and helped you out.
Sarah and Lauren, do you think that young people have the strength to leave a site if they are abused and say, actually, I want nothing more to do with this?
Yeah, I think it depends on your confidence and how confident you are. And with Ask FM, people can send you anonymous questions, but you don't have to answer them. You can just delete them. Obviously, it will still hurt the person, but you don't have to publicise it.
Yeah, you don't have to show the world what people are saying to you. I think it does. It depends how secure you are as a person. I mean, I think for us two, it
doesn't really bother me.
You're obviously very confident young women for going on worldwide television and talking to us about that. Do stay with us. We've got lots more to talk about. And keep all your comments coming in to me. They come in right here. Thanks for watching.
Let me say something.
Welcome back to World Have Your Say. I'm Chloe Tilley. We're speaking to teenagers who use social networking sites after the father of a British 14-year-old claimed she killed herself in her bedroom after anonymous and relentless cyberbullying on the site Ask FM.
I experienced. This is chaos. People are going to want to know.
Let me say something.
Still with us are some of the teenagers from around the world who use social networking sites. In fact, we're joined also by some of their parents. But first, let's cross to some of my colleagues in the World newsroom to tell us a little bit about what their listeners and viewers are telling them.
Hello. Yeah. Hi. Hello. Yes, I'm Alvaro. I'm from the Spanish service from BBC Mundo. I wanted to start talking with a case that we had in Argentina some years ago. It was 2010. about a girl that was called Romina Perrone. Basically, somebody created a Facebook group that was called 3 Reasons to Hate Romina Perrone, and it was just like a platform that was being used to bully her. And I don't know if you guys have other cases.
Well, I think I'm Tahir. I'm from Persian Service. Actually, you know, I cover Afghanistan, and normally we come across with such cases because social media is not quite new for Afghans. I mean, only like out of 30 million people, only 3 million, you know, use social media, mainly Facebook. Recently, for example, a week ago, a journalist was reportedly sacked from a TV for only liking a page which was set up against his boss. And then, you know, another reporter actually was beaten up by a local official for writing a comment against the local official on Facebook, which has sparked, you know, huge debate on social media.
Sorry, just what happened to the girl?
It was nothing tragic, and it was just she was fine. But basically, in one moment, the Facebook group had like almost 5,000 members. And the interesting thing is, some people also created another group in reaction of this, supporting her. So it was kind of a reaction also to the bullying on the internet.
In China, over 500 million internet users, so cyberbullying definitely exists. And also in the recent years I have come across of academic research looking into the problem of cyberbullying. But I'm kind of interested in, I mean, I think bullying is not a new thing. No. I mean, it has existed the day when schools existed.
But in social media, I assume, I mean, for at least for our part of the world, it's, you know, a new concept because people still don't know about the law.
Well, thank you so much, my colleagues there in the World Newsroom. Let me pull up this comment from Stephen in Zambia, who's posted on Facebook. Parents should take an interest in what their kids are up to. 14 years old is too young to be surfing the internet unguided. Well, it's worth saying, of course, it's not clear whether Hannah Smith was surfing the internet unguided. But let me introduce you now to some of the parents of the teenagers who've been speaking to us over the last few minutes. With us is Blue still and his mum B in Johannesburg, and Farah is still with us in Cairo, and she's been joined by her dad Saeed. First of all, B, we heard a little bit earlier on from Blue about the abuse that he received on some social networking sites. Were you aware that that was what was happening?
Look, we weren't really, he was quite young when all this took place. Well, it was only like 2 or 3 years ago when all the bullying did take place. At that stage, he had unlimited access to the internet, and I was more aware of Facebook and then later Twitter and everything. And it got so bad that Blue actually ended up taking an overdose. His father did rush him to the hospital, and thankfully, as you can see, he's okay. But, you know, like I'm saying now, we've limited his internet usage. His dad and I are both his friends on the Facebook, with Blue on the Facebook site. And we're trying to make him more aware. I mean, Blue just makes friends with anybody, which is not right. I mean, we've tried to explain that you've got to screen the people and you know, preferably know actually who they are, because you don't know whether it's bullying, whether it's a pedophile trying to get, you know, access to your child or anything like that. So I think, I know that Blue was hurt very deeply, because not only was it happening on the internet, it happened at school, it happened with young older brothers and sisters that were bullying him, and he really felt the pressure from all round. And we had to.
It sounds like there was almost a sense of hopelessness there and a powerlessness, that you desperately want to protect your son, but there's really nothing you can do. I remember when I was at school, I was bullied as well, and my parents found it incredibly difficult. They wanted to jump in and help, but equally, you've got to let your child stand on their own 2 feet.
Yeah, and it's also a case of, you know, stop being such a drama queen and stop making big things about nothing. But it's, I mean, they're all under such pressure, because at school there's like cliques of people that, you know, run around the school, and they're all mean and nasty to each other. now you've got the internet and all the social media sites and everything. So,
well, B,
again,
I want to introduce you to another parent because it will be interesting to get his perspective. Farah is sitting next to her dad, Saeed, who is in Cairo. Saeed, can you relate to any of the things there you heard from B?
Of course, it is very important that parents take interest in what their children are doing. You must educate them about media. That when you use social media or when you watch a movie, not everything that you see is real, and it can be dangerous. You don't emulate what you are seeing. If I see in a movie someone is shooting another, it doesn't mean my children will do the same, or this is how they deal when they have a conflict. So it's very important that you educate your children about media, how to deal with social media. Add friend requests on Facebook must be examined and scrutinized. You only add your friends, your neighbors, people at school, acquaintance, relatives, fine. But anything beyond that, you have to be careful about whom you are choosing. If you find the person you have added is misbehaving, is exceeding the limit, then there are many ways to deal with the issue. If they are just a troll, you can have limited profile. You limit the capability to send you a message or to comment, or you can even block them if it becomes too much. But as you know, bullying exists in school, in the street, in cyber world. You have to vaccinate your children toward such sadistic creatures.
It's almost a balance, isn't it? It's almost a balance, really, between protecting them and empowering them to look after themselves. And it's a tricky one for any parent. Let's pull up this video now. It's from the British Prime Minister David Cameron. He's been speaking to the BBC about this story.
The people that run these websites have got to step up to the plate and clean up their act and show some responsibility. It's not acceptable what is allowed to happen on these sites, and it's their responsibility and those posting these hateful remarks first and foremost. The second point I make is just because something's done online doesn't mean that it's legal. You know, if you incite hatred, if you incite violence, that's a crime, whether you do it in a television studio, on a soapbox, or online, and so those people can be chased. I think the other point I make is, look, if websites don't clean up their act and don't sort themselves out, then we as members of the general public, have got to stop using these particular sites.
And that's the British Prime Minister David Cameron speaking to the BBC yesterday. We've talked a bit about parental responsibility. David Cameron there talking about responsibility of the websites. Let's bring in Mick Wright. He's a blogger and a writer in Dublin. Mick, whose responsibility do you think it is to protect young people on these sites?
Well, I mean, I think it's a mixture of, it's difficult to say that there's one person who's responsible. I mean, listening to the parents that you've had talking today, they seem to be taking responsibility for what their own children are doing online, and obviously that's incredibly important. And obviously sites have, a responsibility themselves to make sure that the kind of communication that's going on through them is proportionate and not abusive.
You wrote a blog earlier this week sort of talking about blaming the bullies rather than these websites. Do you think it's too easy to blame the websites themselves?
Well, I mean, I would kind of, I wouldn't necessarily put my argument like that. I'd say that what I'm saying is I think that we over-focus on platforms. I think, bullying, for me, I keep using the metaphor of a weed. Bullying and abuse, it's like a weed that comes through the cracks in our society, and really the roots remain the same, but where we notice the weed springing up changes. So when text messaging was the new thing, we were very concerned about text message bullying. Now that social media is such a big thing, that's where we're seeing the bullying and sort of behaving as if that's somehow new and alien.
Let's bring in Dr. Mohammed Al-Habashna from Amman in Jordan. He is a psychologist. Doctor, thank you for joining us on World Have Your Say. It's a very difficult line we've heard there from both parents about how you treat this online bullying. Should it be treated the same way as bullying at school?
I didn't get you well because of the voice equality, but I do think that we have a similar problem in the Arab country, and we see that the issue is wholly infectious, using of the media and communicating. But it is infectious because not because there is a kind of only the kind of one who want to induce a crime, but the principle of childhood, of avoiding pain and seeking of a pleasure, does suit this kind of communication. And we can see it is infectious because the whole family use the computer or the smartphone in front of their children, and there is no devotion to talk to them or to spend a lot of time with them. Plus, we see that many of parents are willing to not to devote their time to their children, and instead they spend a lot of time on the computer. So there is no filtration system actually, and this leads to many obstacles because the teenagers and the children as a whole are not capable emotionally and cognitively to deal with different issues. And the many abuses are noticed lately even in the clinical practice, such as bullying verbally, either because of their opinion or because of their appearances. And this leads also to the major problem, which is a sexual abuse will take a form outside even this communication. They can contact each other by adults by phone calls.
Well,
or
Dr. Mohammed, I know that Mick
videos.
wants to respond to the points that you've made.
I think I have to say, I think again, I think that I have to reiterate. I think the notion of overplaying the effect of these platforms is problematic. I think that these relationships between children, the way children have pick on each other, are cruel to each other, and you know, those kind of situations, that's something we've been dealing with for years and years. You know, but perhaps time immemorial, and I think we do get a little bit too tied up in the nature of digital platforms as opposed to really the root causes of this kind of behaviour.
Madge has joined us again from Saudi Arabia. Do you feel safe on these social networking sites? Is there anything that you would feel should be implemented to make you feel safer?
Well, I think that I personally feel pretty safe because I haven't really been subjected to cyberbullying myself, although I know people who have been. But I think it's wrong to say that the websites are wholly responsible because as you've mentioned, that Ask FM and Twitter have integrated that report abuse button. I think parents should tell their children not to bully others. I think it's very important to just monitor what your children do, and if the person is being bullied, I think they should go and tell someone as well.
Let me bring this to you, which has just come into us in the last few minutes here at World Have Your Say. It's a statement from Ask FM. It says, this afternoon we've engaged a law firm to conduct a full and independent audit of our site and its safety features. A team of lawyers and media specialists are currently undertaking a detailed examination and investigation of the various procedures and policies we have in place. They will report back to us with their findings and comprehensive recommendations in the next 7 days. That's a statement which has just come into us here at World Have Your Say from Ask FM. I wonder, Farah and her dad Saeed, whether you want to respond to whether you feel enough is being done by these sites to protect young people using them.
Let me say that mainstream British media, you know, in the letters to the editor section, they cannot publish any comment by any adult, mature, grown-up reader until it goes through a moderator. If you go to Ask FM site, I see nothing but insults. I mean, they have the site is multilingual, by the way. It has also Arabic stuff. I examined the Arabic stuff. I just read insults. This cannot be published like that unless you like to be treated in a sadistic way. I mean, this is not a site that has moderators or responsible moderators who would scan and see what is to be published and then they put it. Because this is directed to teenagers. It is not even directed to adults. How can I allow people who are 14 years old, emotionally not grown up, to examine, and then they go repeatedly and get nothing but insults? In the case that you have at hand, the girl had been to this site several times. I mean, why does she go again to the same site and where she gets insults? Because there was no, frank or discussion with her parents. She would complain to them that this is happening, and then they get to examine, or emotional support to,
well, Saeed, I mean, we certainly can't speculate on why Hannah Smith decided to keep returning to the site despite receiving abuse. But many people have been telling us here on World Have You Say, getting in touch with us throughout the day, saying that they want to be part of it. They feel left out from their classmates if they don't get involved in these kind of conversations. It's interesting as well, 200,000 new members are joining Ask FM every day. Stay with us and we'll carry on talking in the next few minutes.
No, I talking about it. Let me say something. No, I talking about it. Let me say something.
And welcome back to World Have You Say. Thank you for joining us. I just want to bring you this comment which has come into us in the last few minutes. Regina in Montreal rang us to say, children under the age of 18 shouldn't be able to use the internet. It's too difficult to control, and there's so much bullying online. Well, let's put that to some of the teenagers who are still with us. Madge is in Saudi Arabia. You're shaking your head, Madge. What do you make of that comment?
I don't think that should be implemented at all, because I think it's important for the internet to be accessible by everyone. I mean, it's a very important part of life right now, especially for the new generation. So to say that only under 18-year-olds can use the internet, I think is just, I don't think it's the right way to solve the problem. I mean, we can we can educate our children more, we can tell them what to do if they get bullied, we can tell them not to bully, but I don't think that preventing them from using the internet is the solution at all.
Maria in Texas, do you think that that's a sensible approach? Oh, that's frustrating. We've just lost Maria's line to Texas. Let's bring in Jade, because she's part of the Anti-Bullying Alliance. Is that a sensible solution? Under 18s don't use the internet.
I totally agree with Madge. Bullying can happen at all ages, so it wouldn't necessarily just be for those under the age of 18. And we want to be able to tackle it from a young age, be able to educate the children and see how well they can use the internet and see how well they deal with their situations. And I wouldn't necessarily say cut it straight off for them. Other precautions should be made.
Lauren, we don't have much time left, but your thoughts on this? Do you think it's a sensible approach, banning under 18s?
No, I think that's quite ridiculous. I think that the point that the doctor, I think, made about teenagers being emotionally incapable is really stereotypical, because teenagers could have gone through more than adults have. And
so you're saying, I'm sorry, do forgive me for interrupting, we're running right out of time, but thank you for joining us here on World Have Your Say. I'll be on World Service Radio in around an hour's time. I'll speak to you then. Thanks for watching.
Let me say something.